Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Visti Larsen. I really welcome Visti Larsen. Thank you for being here. Namaste.
Thank you for having me. It's always lovely.
And today's topic is Ārūḍha lagna. And I'm super excited for this topic because it's one of my best topics I'd really like learning more about. So I'm so excited that you're presenting this topic with us today.
Navjit, it's always fun to talk to you. It's great that I can share a topic like this. Thank you for that. And thank you for reaching out to make this happen. I hope this is going to be a lovely interaction and discussion we'll have on the topic. I prepared slides, so there'll be stuff to go through. But of course, I'm expecting, a bit of back and forth on the topic. Would you like me to say a bit more about what it is I'm presenting?
Yes, I would like to share, like if you can share what exactly is Ārūḍha lagna, because there's a lot of different descriptions or there's different videos about it, but I would just really like to know what is Ārūḍha lagna and how does it really impact each chart or person.
So it's not because of the sign Leo that I put this symbol here in the slides. There's a lion over there. The reason that lion is there is because I needed a symbol to catch one trait of the mind when it comes to Aruda, and that is whenever you hear about the Divine Mother Durga, let's say, okay? One of her descriptions is Simha Aruda. She's riding a lion. It's a very important description of hers. All the devatas are mentioned as riding something, all right? They're riding a lion, they're riding a bull, Vrisha Aruda is Shiva, okay? Garuda Aruda is supposed to be Vishnu. So they're all riding a vehicle that is carrying them through life. But on the other hand, the word Simha Aruda, when we come back to Durga is the Simha Aruda, has more symbolism because the one who rides the lion is sitting on the throne, isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it? So who is it that the politicians worship to stay on the throne in India? They were worshipping Durga because she is the one who decides who's going to sit on that throne or not. She is riding the Simha Aruda. Her Aruda is the throne. So this Aruda is not just, somebody said image. It is your status or position in life. So of all the positions in the chart, this one has a direct impact on what is your status, what is the direction you're going in, what is the position you have in the world. Now, so that's why I put the lion there, to give that symbolism. What is the throne you are sitting on? What is the position you have? Maybe it's a low one, maybe it's a high one. Okay? And there are different types of Aruda. Some are much more focused on high position and high status. Some are very focused on things like, what did you create in this world? Some are just, what most of us need to know is, what is indicating our personal identity. But all of these Arudas have one thing in common. They rise above other topics in our life and are visible to others, for others to see. So it's like an image. It's an image you're portraying. You can hardly say that if you're president, that your true nature is president. No, you have your own personality. But the Aruda is the image you portray. And so there must be a president Aruda. Okay? All right? So what Aruda is the president riding? Usually in the US, they have to ride the eagle. Okay? Because the eagle is the symbol of the United States. All right? That is the eagle. The bald eagle is the most important symbol of the United States. Every country has their own symbol. In Canada, I'm not sure which one it is, because I have heard from some that one of the symbols could be the moose, but then there's also a specific bird, right to say, that is also strongly associated with Canada. The point is whether every country has these important symbols associated with them, and the leader has to ride that. Okay? Now, that is the more symbolic, spiritual aspect of it, if you will. In the end, they are having a certain Aruda that is risen above other topics in their life. We know the president as being president. We do not know how they are as a spouse. We do not really understand how their health is or what their personality is when it comes to the in-house topics that are relevant for them. We really don't know that. What we do know is this Aruda. And like I said, we have various Arudas. There's an Aruda associated with our home, with our parents, with our kids. Like when you say, "Oh, look, this is what how good my kid is in school," that's a kid Aruda. It's not really the true Aruda. All right. So it is an image that is not just portrayed, but there's another side of this, and that is you're also trying to create that image. Okay? You are identifying yourself by that image. If people say Visti is a Jyotishi, okay, I am also trying to create the image of a Jyotishi. That also means that when I had to choose a profession or a path or a livelihood for me, I was trying to create an Aruda. And when I was trying to create it, I started walking into the Aruda of a Jyotishi. And I identified with it and said, I want that to be my Aruda. And other people see that Aruda as well. Now, the individual can see their Aruda and they can also see what's not their Aruda. But the world around them, unless you get close to the person, can only see the Aruda. Okay. Only see the Aruda. Only your intimate family or friends can really see your true nature. Okay?
Yes.
That is Aruda. But now you can imagine if we are dwelling on big important achievements in life, this Aruda might be much more important in other facets of the chart. Because if this is rising and falling, you can say it's measurable, right? Whereas if somebody says, I want to know about your moon and how your moon is doing, you're not measuring anything. You're saying how happy the individual is, all right? Now, it is possible, just like, let's say, President Obama, that just before he came to be president, in fact, during the time he was about to be president, his grandmother passed away, who had a very big impact on him. So that means he's having some suffering related to his moon, his personal life, and his home and family. But his Aruda is rising like crazy.
Wow.
So that difference has to be there when we read charts as well. Okay? When you're looking at how well an actor, actress is doing, you're really not reading their personal life. You're reading their Aruda. And maybe not the Ārūḍha lagna. There are different types of Aruda. Okay? Every house, there's an Aruda. All right? For every graha, there's also an Aruda. So you can have many, many, many Arudas. All right? Not all are equal and not all are relevant, and some are more important for one individual than the other. All right? But the Aruda lagna is important for everybody. Okay? Yes. Because you have a lagna, and so you're the Aruda of your lagna, that is important for everyone. Okay? It's just a question of always how to measure that I'm going to depict here. Okay?
Yes, I'm excited. Yes.
Glad to hear. And so we're dealing with the topic of Ārūḍha Gochara, so transits in essence. Now, it's not appropriate that I use the word Gochara for transit because Gochara implies that the transit was auspicious. All right?
Okay.
It could be the transit was not auspicious, then you can't call it Gochara. But I think it's of value for us to have a bit of a discussion, or I would raise how exactly we are looking at charts here. Okay. And this is also part of what I'm going to present here, because we don't want to go about any topic simplistically, and I don't. It's not of value to us or to me, any Jyotishi, anybody. But it sometimes sounds like we are not having the right topic discussions when we speak together as astrologers, everybody in the community.
Right.
Firstly, let's take the simple stuff we talk about in transits. We say that we have these Mahagrahas when we talk about transits. They're Jupiter, the nodes, and Saturn. This is staple. Even the term Mahagraha is so commonly used among traditional astrologers that they are like, yeah, we know what Mahagraha is. Okay? These are the grahas which are the slower bodies when it comes to transits. And we stop our measurement here at these four, which is fair. That is perfectly fair. That's understandable. We take the four slowest, and after this, we say, look, it's getting too fast, it's not something that is of value to the clients, nor to the astrologer making the analysis anymore. Because if you have to take into account something that changes every few days, then then it doesn't become valuable to the client that they have to talk to the astrologer every few days to figure out what's going on. How many of us go to the astrologer once a month to figure out how the month is going to be? Not that many. Okay? And it will certainly make astrologers busy, I dare may say, but never mind that. And then, of course, what we're also familiar with is the transit times in signs. And in signs, because we're not dealing with nakshatras at this stage, we can deal with nakshatras, but that is also complicated because as soon as we get into nakshatras, this Saturn becomes 1 year per nakshatra. All right? And Rahu and Ketu are going to become even less, as is Jupiter. Much, much less. And so, I mean, Jupiter will take a year to go through a nakshatra. I mean, a year to go through a sign, which is going to be nine napadas, right? So it's going to take, how much is that? Less than 2 months per nakpada, right to say, per navamsha. It's going to be a bit less than a year per nakshatra, right? So we don't want to address the topic of nakshatras from the get-go. We don't want to start with that. We want something broader. Basis this, there was also good reason for people to dwell on dasha instead of transits. I do Jyotish every day. I don't start with transits. I start with dasha. I say, look, if the dasha tells me there's something that I need to address in transit, then I'll open the transits. But does that mean that transits become obsolete in the side in front of dasha? Not exactly. Not exactly. There are techniques and systems to draw longer transits. Like is there something like a 5-year per sign transit? There is a concept like that, but it's based on the Bharhaspatya Varsha. All right? It has something to do with where God is. Okay? And it has 12 cycles leading to a 60-year transit. You can see that, right? 5-year per sign, 12 signs, 60 years. So much longer. And this is like dasha. It's like dasha. And there is value in knowing these transits of these Mahagraha. We can actually have a complete system of using transits if we just learn to understand how they work. Okay? Then you will say, or somebody who is expert in transits will say, I don't need dasha, I just need this. I know everything with this. It's true, there are methods of that. As very, very solid methods in the nadis. And so the discussion we have to have is, firstly, how are we reading the chart? I've given this whole view. Arudas are important. And secondly, is transits valid to use compared to, let's say, dasha? Yes, it is. Question mark. So if an event transpires during one transit and after 2.5 years, the transit ends, does the event continue necessarily? What a good question. Somebody gets a disease, they can have the disease for 10, 16, 20 years, unfortunately. You can also be married for that long, even longer, until for life. But does that mean when the transit is over that we should expect the marriage or the disease to be completed, or the work that you did, the job you had, was it going to end just because the transit ended? How do you examine continuity also? How do you know something is continuing? Even dashas have this failing, right? You can have a dasha of 7 years, it's over. How do you know the activity that started in the dasha will continue, right? So there's this discussion must also be there. And then we have to argue, those discussions, whether it's dasha or it's transit, is not dependent on dasha and transit alone, but the chart we're analyzing. Okay?
Right.
So there must be something in the chart that allows continuity or a short term, firstly. And then we can permit ourselves to examine how this is reckoned vis-a-vis dasha. Okay? And now, that being said, dasha has an ability to show how threads continue. It's true. Transits, it may not seem obvious, but it is also possible. Okay? Like an event started in one dasha, how do you know it's continuing the next dasha? The next dasha will actually show the event continuing. There's a way to do that. At least the dashas I use, I'm very fond of Narayan dasha. So it can tell me easily, oh, this is going on. This is what you're experiencing continuously. The same yoga, but different dasha continuing. That's possible. It's definitely possible. And transits, we should examine with the same thing in view. To begin with, what I need to dwell on in this topic and why I have so much space on this slide is because I want to share what are the good or bad transits from the Ārūḍha lagna.
Okay.
And so this doesn't apply only to the Ārūḍha lagna, but it can apply to all Ārūḍhas. So what we say generally is for Saturn, the big Mahagraha, the most important one. We really don't enjoy when Saturn is aspecting the Ārūḍha lagna or the 10th from the Ārūḍha lagna. So 10th sounds like Kantak, right? So when is it Kantak? We will say Kantak here. And that is, me and my scribbles here. So Kantak happens in the 10th house, but it also happens when aspects are on the 10th house. So when Saturn is in 4th from the Ārūḍha, he'll aspect the 10th. When he's in the lagna itself, he has a 10th aspect on the 10th. When he's in the 8th house, he also has an aspect on the 10th. And then I said, look, now Kantaka is all about 10th house. But there's also a whole lagna transit which is auspicious. And that obviously means if Saturn is in the first house in transit, only transit, keep in mind. Then if he is in the 4th, he'll also aspect the lagna. If he's in the 7th, he'll aspect the lagna. So I'm writing H for every house, right to say. And 11th house, he will aspect the lagna. So you can largely say from this, Kendra, 8th and 11th houses are definitely negative transits for Saturn. That's many houses. Okay, many, many houses. So are all the others good then? No. There are also difficulties for longevity, which may not affect finances. So we have Ayush transits. Okay, Ayusha. And these are 5 and 9. Okay, these are also negative transits. We don't want Saturn transiting the 5th or 9th from the Ārūḍha. Your career may be fine, but you won't be healthy enough to go to your job or office or participate work-wise, is the possibility. Okay? Now, suddenly it looks like we have covered many houses. We went from 6 houses to now 8 houses covered. So how about the rest? Are they any good? And then we say, all right. So the remnant houses were 2nd house, 12th house, 6th house, and 3rd house. Yes, generally Saturn is good here, but I'll always be careful with the 2nd house transit. All right? So 12, 6, 3. This is the generalization for the Ārūḍha. Generalizing. Now, there's also a difference in these. This first group really affects your bank balance negatively. Okay? They're problematic for the bank balance. I can put a cross over the dollar sign. Okay? And this second group, this first house group, this is all about your interactions with people. I would like to draw a flower because it's all about how is your interaction with people. Is it a good or bad interaction? Like when you have problems with your work interactions, it'll usually be to the Ārūḍha lagna being aspected by Saturn in transit. So that's a huge difference from on one hand talking about the bank balance and the other hand saying, oh, there's a problem in your interaction with people. All your relationships are being hurt. Okay, your social circle. And then with longevity or Ayush, so that's about health. What would we write for health as a nice symbol? If only I could draw that scepter with the snakes around, which Hippocrates symbol for health. No, it's not even Hippocrates. But this is really for health. Maybe the heart is more important for health, right? So not love, but heart. Okay? And then these other remnant transits, Saturn generally leaves us alone. In fact, in 3rd or 6th, he can ruin the competition and make you benefit. All right? So these are the transits of Saturn. All right? This is how we use Saturn's transit. And we generally say the way that Saturn will work his magic or his lack of magic has to be supported by Jupiter and the nodes. Okay? So the combination of saying, oh, Saturn and Jupiter must be examined gives us better insight into the final outcome. All right? Or Saturn and the nodes. Now, the nodes, in spite of them being malefics, are not all bad. In fact, I want to prioritize them at this stage when I talk about Aruda, because Aruda is supposed to be like an image, just like the reflection of the sun on the moon, the sunlight on the moon, excuse me. Okay? So the nodes are very important for the Aruda because they can create big oscillations, all right? Extremes, if you will. And the general statement we make is, we want Rahu transiting trines, trikona. Okay, 1, 5, 9. What that does is it increases wealth. Very nice transit. Okay, excellent transit. If Rahu goes to the trines to any Aruda, it's going to make that Aruda wealthy. Okay, so it can be maybe your mom benefits financially when Rahu transits trines to the Aruda of the 4th house. Maybe siblings do in their trines to the 3rd house, 3rd Aruda, excuse me, Aruda of the 3rd house. Maybe father, a Aruda of the 9th house. Maybe spouse, Aruda of the question mark. There are two topics there. Some people say Darapada, some people say Upapada. I use both, but Darapada has more to do with business partners, and Upapada is the actual partner that is your spouse. Okay. Ketu, on the other hand, is exactly the opposite. So when he goes to the trines, that is the 1, 5, 9 here, what's going to happen is he is going to deplete the bank balance. He will say, what bank balance? Let's go to the mountain and meditate. So spiritualists actually get diksha and take sannyas, become monks because of the transit of Ketu from the Aruda. They're completely opposite. And this is all trinal transits. This is our outset. If we have this in place, it's easy. Okay? And you can see I was most detailed with Saturn, somewhat detailed with the nodes, and Jupiter is playing a game of sort of balancing them all. Jupiter's transit is quite interesting, if you ask me. It's a bit of a special transit. There's something about Jupiter I've really not understood about its transits, but I'll try to explain what I do know and what I don't know. Okay? So Jupiter is very auspicious in the Kendras. He gives stability. So Kendras, quadrants, square, let's say. So that is 1, 4, 7, 10. He is excellent. He gives you complete support. Okay? Excellent. Super. Now, when he goes to the 5th and 9th houses, he does something a bit odd. This is where the confusion rises. He does something very, very odd. He shows you the truth. And you may not like it. Well, he's doing it for your sake. This is where I said the confusion I have about Jupiter. I don't understand why he does this. If he goes to your 5th from the Aruda lagna, he will show you the truth about your students or followers or your colleagues at work, all right, children. He will show you the truth, and you may not like it. Okay? He will show their weaknesses. That is a scary transit. You will feel horrible when you see it. When he goes to the 9th from the Aruda, he will show you the same about your predecessors, your elders, your parents, your teachers, okay? Your mentors, all of those people whom you rely on, employers. He will put your hand on your head and say, is this really how they are? It's not a nice sight, okay? But why is Jupiter doing this? He wants to show you the truth so that you can have a better expectation and navigate that topic better. So you say, oh, that must be good, but you won't like the experience. It breaks the images of people, this Jupiter. He is like Shiva showing you the absolute light, the truth, if you will. He lives up to that reputation, certainly, when he transits the trines to the Aruda lagna. The remnant transits, so that is what? 2nd house, 3rd house, what else do we have? A 6th house, we have 8th house over here, and 11th house. Of these 3, 6, 8 means Jupiter is not supporting you, which allows Saturn and the nodes to potentially do havoc. How will Rahu do havoc? He's not going to do havoc in the trines to the Aruda, but Ketu will. Okay? All right? Whereas in the 2nd house, he is trying to sustain something. He is trying to pick something up. All right? He is trying to give food. So if I put an apple here, let's say, all right, or an orange, he's sustaining something. From the 11th, he is also putting food on the table. He likes more dollars. That's his thing in the 11th. So these are benign transits, but they're supportive, 2nd and 11th. They're not necessarily bad. But in the 3-6-8, he has said, I'm on vacation. That's not always an easy transit. Okay? This Jupiter in 8th can be supportive of health. He will try. If you have a health problem, he'll try to support you in your health in the 8th from the Aruda. So this is the compendium of transits. This is all what we need to know about the Aruda and transits at first glance. But even here we run into some problems. Yes, no?
So did we put the 12th house?
Oh, did we
What
put it
does it
with
do in the
Jupiter? I
12th?
didn't put it. Let me put it in.
Yeah, so in 12th,
12th house is
he's
also negative. Yeah, it's in that
okay.
box of negatives. I'm sorry, you're about to say now?
Oh no, I wanted to mention 12th house. So for example, if someone's Aruda lagna is like Taurus,
Yeah.
and then when Jupiter transits into Taurus, that would be in their first house. So that will give them stability.
It's not just stability, it can increase the wealth and success quite a bit. It's a very, very nice transit. Very nice.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, then I digress slightly and say, so we're using this from Aruda Lagna, right?
Yes.
Why not from all the Arudas? We also said you could do that with the nodes. I said, mom could get money, dad could get money, the place you work could get money, Aruda of the 10th house. Okay. So we should be broad-minded in this. Now, let me go one step further. If a person is, let's say, holding a very high position of power, that means they're in an institution of power. What is more important, their image or the image of the institution? Right? Peculiar question, right? Peculiar.
Right.
But this is quite important because when we say that, let's say a politician falls, let's say we say today, oh, Biden is going to, exit early before the election starts. Okay? It's not just the president who falls. The whole government, which is the executive branch, actually. When we say Biden is the executive branch, he's the head of the executive branch. The whole executive branch falls at once. Because that's why they need a vice president. If the vice president doesn't step in, the whole branch has to go. And what did the vice president say? Well, I don't think people are confident about our branch. Everything goes. Now, in other countries, which are much more democratic, right? Where everybody is democratically elected. In those countries where that happens, when we talk about the ruling party, it's much more homogeneous in the sense that everybody is with everybody. One falls, that means everybody falls. It's not just one person. They have replacements. They have VPs and all of that, vice presidents and all. But it's one whole government, which if there's an issue, everything has to be running for election. Okay? So for them, it's the whole Aruda of the 10th house, which is more important than their own individual Aruda. You see my point?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. And even then, that means as a governor, let's say, or a senator, you are still not an individual. It's a whole Aruda of the 10th house. This Aruda of the 10th house has appropriately the name Rajapada. Okay? Like there's Aruda Pada, this is Rajapada. Okay? What about somebody who's an artist? What's more important for them? For them, it's how they're received by the crowd. Okay? Artists have to work on becoming popular every day. Yeah. Politicians, they work at the election time and a little bit in between elections, but their job is to get stuff done, right? They cannot just only have a popularity contest. That doesn't work for them. Some try to balance it. It's very difficult. They get stressed. Never mind that. But artists are in a constant popularity contest. Constant. So they are constantly creating something. This is my new creation. This is my new album. This is my new song. This is my new artwork. They're constantly creating. It's as if they're constantly making babies. Aruda of the fifth house. Okay.
Right.
So for them, the Aruda of the fifth house is much more important. They could have created and sung the album 3 months earlier. But when it gets released and how it is received on the billboards is much more important. So the Aruda of the fifth house becomes more important. How is my baby received in the world? Okay. So all these transits, they work from all Arudas. For some people, some are more relevant. We have to choose. That's complicated. We have many Arudas. Is there a way to just consolidate all of this? We're going to deal with this in these discussions.
Thank
So,
you.
can I go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Okay. And let me just do this. And here we are. So I wanted to show an example chart first. This is the Prince Charles of Luxembourg. Okay. So not the current King Charles. Prince Charles of Luxembourg is somebody else from 1927. And so I've drawn the chart of the Rashi chart. There's many Arudas in this chart. When I draw charts, I don't put all the Arudas in. I put some in. I just wanted to show all of them for use. And so you can see all these A3, A10, A4, A11, A9, all of these are Arudas. A. This is the nomenclature. When you write Aruda, you put A in front is the easy way to go about it. Traditionally, we wouldn't put it in the chart. We will draw a separate chart on the side called the Aruda chakra. Okay? So you would see Rashi and Navamsha and you wouldn't be the wiser. There's no Arudas in there, no nothing in there. And then suddenly there's this extra chart that pops up and it has some either grahas or numbers in and you're not confused. What's this? But that is an Aruda chakra that will be drawn on the side. Now, let's see here. Now, this unfortunate prince, if you will, when he was in his 13th year, the Nazis invaded Luxembourg. So the whole royal family were exiled and they escaped. Actually, they were exiled because they managed to escape. Had they stayed, they could have been incarcerated or worse. Okay? So now you will say, well, let's start with the chart. If I take the North Indian chart, I think you prefer that. Yes, diamond chart.
Yes, please, yeah.
Yeah. So the ascendant lord is Jupiter in the fourth and known sign. What's wrong with the person's place of stay? What's wrong with the country? There's no issue with the country, you will say. What a strong Jupiter. Somebody will say, no, Visti, it must be because it's retrograde. It's not because it's retrograde. Don't start on that. Retrogression doesn't do that. Retrogression doesn't cause a foreign army to invade your home. Okay?
Yeah.
Leave that be. That's not it. Now, if you have Jupiter in known sign in the fourth, pay special attention to the moon. If the moon is poorly placed, you can either lose your home or worse, somebody who's close to you in the fourth house, like mother. Okay? It is very common in such combinations to see either the person has to leave their parents or leave their country. Very common when moon is poorly placed. And the reason is when Jupiter goes to own sign, he is putting all his energy into the lord of his exaltation sign, the moon. And this happens to all planets. When they go to own sign, they put all their energy into the lord of exaltation sign. So this moon in debility with Saturn aspected by Mars, you'll see by Graha Drishti over here. You will say, Visti, what do I do with this moon? This is horrible. Okay? This has become worse because Jupiter is not fending for the fourth house. He's letting the moon fend. See my point? Complicated position to have. Now, this is a setback. This is a loss they would experience. So what was the transit at that time? The Aruda lagna is over here in Pisces. And guess who's transiting at that time? I made a small mark here. The South Node. Ketu. Did we not say you can lose wealth and money due to this? That's exactly what happened. They lost a whole country temporarily. Okay? Towards the end of the war, they returned. Actually, they waited a lot longer, but they returned. Okay? Thankfully, they had assets to support them elsewhere and outside. I mean, they had to flee through the neighboring country and then off to the US is where they landed finally. Okay? I think they went to Portugal first. In the nick of time, it was hours, and then the Germans, the Nazis, had occupied the whole country and the palace, everything, blocked all roads. That's crazy stuff. That's the kind of stuff that you see in movies and read in
Yeah.
books. Crazy stuff. So this was what happened. Ketu did it. Okay. Now, I've also explained why in the slides if somebody reads this out, and so what we can say at the outset is Ketu was causing a major disturbance here. This we can accept. Maybe you will say, but Visti, what about this Aruda of the 4th house? It has to do with one's home. Aruda of the 10th house is also here, I've noted, Visti. This has to do with one's status and position. He's a prince. The trines to this, what is going on there? Saturn is there. Okay, that could be a problem. What about Jupiter? Question mark. Shouldn't he have supported? Well, he had a place to go. He didn't die. Okay. He had a place to go. He was supported. Okay. You'll say, oh, but Visti, there will be a problem, but it's not all bad. I say, I will accept that statement for now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to be a bit more careful when I talk about somebody who lost their whole country and got exiled even for a few years. But that there is a sensibility in that. Yes, there was support. True, there was support. He is, after all, prince. They have assets. They don't live, when they go, they don't live in somebody's basement. They go and live in the most expensive hotel. Okay? And that's their exile, if you will. Does it make sense so far?
Yes, yes.
Ketu was the one we were looking at here, especially.
Yes.
This is the worry we had.
Yes.
Ārūḍha lagna was very relevant here.
Mhm.
Let me try one more slide here. Was it too fast? No, this is the one. Let me go to Björk, right? So I'm not sure how many of the viewers that will know Björk. I think we know Björk, right? And I'll say I'm a bit old, so I know Björk. But when I saw when she started her music career, I felt a bit old too, because her music career started in 1987. I was 6 years old, so she knew what she was doing. She was just very successful for a very long time. And that's why many people know Björk. And so she had her first hit record in 1987 and a solo career in 93. In both cases, during both events, and I timed the exact month that she released the albums that within a few weeks rose to success. Rahu was in both cases in watery signs. Both cases. Let's see. Rahu, it was in 87, it was in Pisces, and in 93, it was in Scorpio. Where's the Ārūḍha lagna? Ārūḍha lagna seems to be over here in Aquarius. Okay. So that doesn't seem to be matching our expectations, right? It was either in 2nd house or in 10th house. We are expecting trines to the Ārūḍha. But here's the thing about Ārūḍha, lagna at least, Ārūḍha lagna, lagna pada, we also call it. When the Ārūḍha lagna becomes positive, you will say you have achieved something, or you have had a personal setback. Okay? So let's say you are a band and you're working to finish an album. When do you feel that you have achieved something? Is it when you have got the album released? Is it when you finished the album? All right. Is it when you went on tour after it was released and well received? Okay. All of those questions can come to fore. For example, I could tell you that in 87, they release an album, and shortly after, Rahu is going in reverse, right? He enters Aquarius. Touring, right? Touring happens. Okay. Lots of movement. And then there is more touring, but maybe it wasn't as extensive because the first album was so important. And then another album is released. And then it goes over here, and it's again trines to the Ārūḍha lagna. Touring happens. Okay. So one has to keep that in mind when one looks at these things. But more importantly, this is an artist. Am I going to use the Ārūḍha lagna necessarily all the time? What about the baby they created? Aruda of the 5th house, the album itself. It's right there in trines to both the transits of Rahu. It works. It made sense. There was a great deal of positive receipt of the album, their creation. Okay? Make sense? So far?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, let us go one step further and see the next chart. And let's see if there's something. Here we go. There we are. This is a governor. Okay? He is a governor of Louisiana. Was, excuse me. All right? He's no more. Wait a minute, Visti. This is Sagittarius ascendant, and Jupiter is in the 4th house, and it's in Pisces, and the Aruda lagna is the same, and Moon is again in the 12th house. This is the same chart as Prince Charles of Luxembourg. Visti, did you make
Yes.
a mistake? No, this is his chart. This is
Same
the
chart.
chart of the governor. It's his chart. It's true. You will see a difference here. It also lists here, Edwin Edwards is his name, from Marksville, Louisiana, US, 1927. All of that is fine. The birth times are slightly different, but they're in different time zones also, different countries also, but the Rashi chart is the same, and the degree of the lagna is different. Okay? Prince Charles has 28 degrees of lagna. He has 20 degrees of lagna. Okay? And these two charts, there's a reason I also chose Bjork's chart, because I have also found her astro twin. I have a chart of somebody who has the exact same chart as hers, who is also very important, very popular, but not in the music industry. Okay? But there's a reason I picked these two charts especially to show. Because we're going to play a bit of a game here. We're going to challenge Jyotish a bit.
Okay.
Not so much the Jyotish itself. Jyotish has ways. But the Jyotishis out there, we're going to challenge a bit. Okay? Because this is going to break some heads if you have a chart like this. Because if we start asking the right questions, some people will say astrology doesn't work. And some people will say maybe we should do a bit more astrology and less of tarot cards. Okay? The way some people read charts. So, same chart. But in his 13th year, he had no exile or significant events. Grew up on a farm, not a palace like the prince. There is a way to verify if a person is going to be born in a royal family. It's not done in the Rashi chart. It has to have a hint in this Rashi chart. There must be a little bit of a hint. But the verification is done in a special Navamsha called Nadi Navamsha. There's a way to do that. Okay? So I know for sure Edwin Edwards is not ever going to have yogas to be a prince, because whilst he has the signs of being in power, he will not be born in power because of his Nadi Navamsha not confirming it. And the confirmation is the lagna in that Nadi Navamsha. And the prince and the governor have different Nadi Navamsha lagnas. So I can say confidently, yeah, I know he's not a prince. Which also means I need the Vargas to verify events. I need the Vargas to verify transit. Okay? But in the 13th year, nothing special happened. We're going to deal with this. Why not? Same Rashi chart. There must be something. Cannot just be nothing. Now, I misspelled here went, right? When became the spelling here, I noticed. Went to jail in the 74th year due to racketeering over property licenses. Hey, Visti, he also had a property problem, you said? Yeah, that's right. That's why he went to jail. He still has a problem with property. The first one lost his kingdom temporarily. This other one went to jail because he was asking people for bribes so that he would give them a license to build their casino. Now you will say, oh, that's interesting, Visti. So you cannot say from the Rashi chart alone when the person will have a problem with property and what exactly is the cause. That's right. We cannot. Unless you have the divisional charts in hand, you cannot make such detailed predictions. You cannot. And I like to read the nadis. The nadis will sometimes tell you, oh, divide the chart into 150 parts, nadi amsha. Then take those 150 and divide into 300 parts. If somebody is born in this 300 path or versus this 300 path, this will happen versus this. Not the same lives. And the Rashi chart is just 12 paths. right? We're talking 300, and the person's having different lifespans, different siblings, different timing of events, years of marriage are different, years of career are different, so many things are different, appearances are different. So why are we using this Rashi chart at all, you would argue? No, 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 we do need it. Yes, because what is changing is the color of these planets are changing based on the Vargas. This Jupiter is behaving slightly differently because of the Vargas. In the case of Prince Charles, it was not a self-inflicted bribery charge that threw him to jail and threw him out of his place and home. It was another country attacking. So for the governor, it was self-inflicted. For the prince, it was coming from outside. There is a way to see the difference. Even just the Navamsha is enough to make that difference. We don't have to go into 300, D300 charts and whatnot, or they even divide them into smaller parts. So he went to jail in the 74th year due to racketeering over property licenses. So transit of Saturn over A10. Let's see, where's his A10? So when he went to jail is what I depicted. Saturn was transiting here in Taurus, okay? A10 is also there in Taurus. Remember we said A10 is very important for your status and position? That's when he went to jail, okay? So that statement works. For the artist, see the Aruda of the 5th house. For the individual, see the Aruda lagna. If you are in a part of an institution, the Aruda of the 10th house. Is the prince part of an institution? Good question. Is he old enough to know that at the age of 12 or 13? It's still something happening to him personally. His own health is at risk. But Visti, isn't the politician's health also at risk in some form? I agree. There must be a way for us to see this in his chart. Let's try. From the Aruda lagna, where is Jupiter? He's in 3rd. So Jupiter has said, I'm not helping. The nodes are not in or out. They're in quadrants, neither trines of any type. Saturn in the 3rd was supposed to be benign, defeating enemies, right? But what happened here? Saturn said, I'm going to cause a problem in your career, your position. And when I do this, I am also going to give you no help because Jupiter is not helping. All right? No help at all. And then you can argue he is also aspecting the 5th and 9th from the Aruda, which can cause a problem with health. Remember? We talked about that?
Yes.
But Jupiter could have protected if Jupiter had just not been in the 3rd house.
Okay.
So that's a decent argument. But you know me, I'm not completely satisfied with that kind of stuff. I want more hard, clear cases, clear signs. But we only have these 4 Tara grahas, Mahagrahas to look at. Okay.
Yes.
So we are going to have to go a bit deeper then. Let me show you another slide then, if that's all right. Yeah.
Yes, please. Sorry, Visti. So I just had a question. If somebody's looking at a chart and they're looking at this A3, A10. So A10 is Aruda of the 10th house.
Yep.
A3 is Aruda of the 3rd house.
Yep.
That's how they're reading. Okay.
You got it.
Thank you.
Yes. And the UL here is Aruda of the 12th house. We call it Upapada because it's very important for the person whom you are, who is your witness in life, the person who follows you in life. It's your spouse. We also call it Gaunapada because it gives you your gunas. The spouse will decide what is your gunas. Okay? From this Gaunapada, you get guna.
Okay.
Very important.
Thank you.
So 12th house is important for gunas, by the way. Okay. All right. And so now here are the 2 charts next to each other. Okay. And let me show something glaring. The type of stuff I like to the problems I like to sit with.
Okay.
So the prince died in his 51st year during Saturn's transit in Cancer. You did recall that the governor was in jail at 74, right?
Yes.
So the governor lived more than 50 years. The governor lived 94 years. The prince only lived 50. Same Rashi chart. Very interesting. How different the lives are. Rashi charts, they're the same. Okay? Lagnas are the same, just the degrees are different. Now watch this. Note, Saturn in Kona to Aruda is negative for health and longevity. So I tried to draw the transit when he passed. Saturn was in Cancer in trines to the Aruda lagna of Pisces. It works. Okay, this is appropriate. Now, I got curious. Did any special events happen to the governor around the same time? And then I looked at, in 1975, this is about a year and a bit more change before the prince passed. Okay? When during the same time, when Saturn was transiting Cancer, same time, the governor is re-elected to be governor. That is too weird. They are having almost opposite events. One is leaving the planet. One is being re-elected to stay as governor. Okay? It wasn't an easy race. When the governor won that, he actually came out with a bit of a loss because he won the first election. When he had to be re-elected, there was a big scandal which took place. And it was involving his wife and one of his main working partners. That working partner lost that re-election race when he was being re-elected, because you don't only re-elect the governor, there's also a whole, team of people around you. So that close partner of his lost the race. So he came out in a diminished scale, in a diminished fashion compared to what he was when he won initially. But it's not death, right? It wasn't easy, but it's not death. So in other words, there is something else here working in the background to decide how good or bad this transit is. And it's not the Rashi chart alone. We've already heard that. Yeah, Visti, it's not the Rashi chart. We get it now. Okay, we heard you. All right. So with this, the answer is obviously it's something to do with the divisional charts. So you can imagine if people are not using the language of divisional charts in the public today to talk about transit effects, you will have cases where somebody says, you said I was going to have health problems and I became re-elected as governor. Okay? Or you said I'll be re-elected as governor and then I almost died. Okay? What type of Jyotish are we doing if this is the chance that we can go wrong?
Right.
So the answer is we need to get very serious about divisional charts. Otherwise, this type of mischief will go on and play games with us. So let me try and present this on the topic of divisional charts a little bit, and maybe we'll get into this discussion now.
Sure.
Garuda degree, which is basically the second part of these slides I'm presenting. And let me just get to this.